Good afternoon, everybody. Anthony Aniano here from RotoBaller Radio and RotoBaller.com with your Week 1 value plays and sleepers. Player who may be flying a little under the radar as you set your fantasy football season long or DFS lineups. Now, full disclosure, recording this on Thursday, September 7th for the games on Sunday, September 10th and Monday night's football on September 11th. Okay, so obviously injuries can occur, surprises may happen between now and then, so apologize in advance if any of my players mentioned do fall under that category. Okay, and before we get to it, guys, I just want to remind everybody, like and subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel. Download the RotoBaller app, it's free. Everything you get on RotoBaller.com right there in the palm of your hand. And if you haven't already, sign up for RotoBaller's NFL Premium subscription, including team sync tools, lineup optimizers, waiver wire reports, trades, you name it, rankings. RotoBaller.com has it all. So sign up now for that premium pass. Use the promotional code ACES and save at checkout. So let's get to it. The Week 1 sleeper and value play report, and we'll start at the quarterback position. Now, not often really, right, in the quarterback position, at least in a season-long format, are we going to deep dive the value play, right? We're going to play our studs. We're going to play our Mahomes, our Josh Allens, our Justin Fields. They're in our lineup. But if you're looking for a discount or you're streaming quarterbacks for whatever reason in your season-long year, Derek Carr of the New Orleans Saints has a premium matchup. He's currently going on DraftKings at $5,300, averaged just under 16 fantasy points per game in the DraftKings format. And he's going against the Tennessee defense that last season gave up the 29th most fantasy, was 29th versus opposing quarterbacks. They allowed 290.3 passing yards per game last season in 2022 with 29 passing touchdowns, an average of 23.7 fantasy points per game to the quarterback position. And I just want to remind everybody, Derek Carr coming off a down year, no doubt about it, kind of went undrafted in season-long years, and I'm not necessarily recommending adding him. More of a DFS as you diversify your DFS lineups. Derek Carr has as close to as a healthy passing core as he could have. Michael Thomas is healthy. Everybody expects Chris Olave to have the breakout season. That's why he was being drafted in the second round. And Juwan Johnson, who we'll talk about in a little bit, is in a prime spot against that Tennessee defense. At the running back position, I have two sleeper and value plays at the running back position. First, Raheem Mostert of the Miami Dolphins. Jeff Wilson out. Okay, Devon Achane, okay, a rookie, more of a pass-catching back. And Mostert against the Chargers, $5,400 on DraftKings. Averaged 11 points per game last season for the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Chargers, 26th in the league last season against the opposing running backs. That is a defense that has a lot to prove after last season. We know offensively the Chargers can put up points. The question is, can they stop anybody? Vegas doesn't think they can. Vegas doesn't think either team's going to stop anybody, as the over-under on this game last I saw was 61, the highest total on the board, higher than Thursday night's Lions and Chiefs game. The Chargers allowed 145.8 rushing yards per game last season with 14 rushing touchdowns. In a PPR format, the Chargers allowed 25.8 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. My second running back, maybe not a sleeper, maybe not a value play, but I included him here because I did not love him entering the season. But that's J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. If you're in a situation where your running back room is deep, you go 3 or 4 potential starters. This is not the week to put J.K. Dobbins on your bench. J.K. Dobbins is in a smash spot this week for the Baltimore Ravens and is a must start. And I love him in that DFS format. At 6,600, he's going to be a keystone for quite a few of my DraftKings lineups. Averaged 12 points per game last year, but this week against the Houston Texans, a Texans team that was last in defending opposing running backs last season. They allowed an astounding 170.2 rushing yards per game and 22 rushing touchdowns. And the truth is, Houston spent so much time trying to rebuild and reset that offense that the defense is maybe another year away. It's a defense we can take advantage of this year in fantasy. Okay, J.K. Dobbins is going against the defense this week that allowed 31.6 PPR points to opposing running backs. Now, I know he's not a sleeper necessarily. I know he's not a value play, but I needed to mention him. J.K. Dobbins is in any single lineup you have this week. At the wide receiver position, first from Washington, Jahan Dotson. Terry McLaurin questionable. We'll see what happens come Sunday morning with Terry McLaurin. But Jahan Dotson is in a smash spot against arguably, I don't even know if it's arguably, the worst team in football, the Arizona Cardinals. An Arizona Cardinal team that is trying to somehow get the first and second pick in the draft. If they're bad enough, and if Houston is bad enough, that will happen for Arizona next April. Jahan Dotson is $5,000 on DraftKings. He averaged just over 11 fantasy points per game. He got injured at one point, was a touchdown monster early on in his rookie season. Cardinals allow 30.8 points per game to opposing wide receivers last year, and a total of just under 246 passing yards a game and 29 touchdowns through the air allowed last season by the Arizona Cardinals. And this is a team that is significantly worse than what they were last year. My second wide receiver sleeper and value play, get the Minnesota rookie Jordan Addison in some lineups this week. He steps into the spot created by Adam Thielen's departure, yet on DraftKings he's $5,100 as the Vikings go against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He steps right into that role and goes against a Tampa defense that, although last season they only allowed 223 passing yards a game, they did allow 29 passing touchdowns. And with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, turnovers could be an issue for Tampa Bay. More possessions for those Minnesota Vikings. Of those 29 passing touchdowns that Tampa Bay allowed last season, 16 of them were to wide receivers, and Tampa Bay allowed 35 PPR points per game to teams opposing wide receivers. As Tampa looks to lock down Justin Jefferson, a lot of action could easily go Jordan Addison's way. And finally, my tight end sleeper and value player of the week. He has been my number one recommendation for anybody who's in the Travis Kelce situation, waiting to see what happens later on tonight with Kelce's knee injury. That's Juwan Johnson, again, of the New Orleans Saints, against that Tennessee Titans secondary. Juwan Johnson is a cheap $3,900 on DraftKings. He averaged 8.4 points per game in a DraftKings format last season. And Tennessee allowed 15.4 fantasy points per game last season to opposing tight ends with 8 touchdowns. 28th in the league against opposing tight ends. You can take advantage of this Tennessee secondary, and I'm going to look to do it. Season long, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, obviously. Juwan Johnson is in some lineups for me if I'm streaming tight ends, and in a DFS format to diversify Derek Carr. So to recap, my sleeper and value plays for week 1 of the fantasy football season: quarterback, Derek Carr; running backs, Raheem Mostert and J.K. Dobbins; wide receivers, Jahan Dotson and Jordan Addison; and at the tight end position, Juwan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints. As always, thank you everybody for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel. Give me a follow on Twitter at Aniano Fantasy, and we'll see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.